I'm all new. I just got Zoom today, so.
All
And here
right.
we are. Welcome to my first ever. We're calling this the Rock Fantasy Files. It's a little show I'm going to start doing. I think it kind of started with this whole pandemic thing because I need something to do, and I actually started a website for Rock Fantasy. I'm Steve from Rock Fantasy. A lot of people may not know. I own a record store in Middletown, New York, / like smoke shop and a pinball arcade. I've been in business almost 34 years, and we've just launched rockfantasy.com. So you can check that out and order a lot of the stuff. Not only the smoke shop stuff on there, but you can order anything, reaction figures, CDs, LPs, everything. On my first show, I was honored because I asked a friend of mine that has actually been to my store when I saw him tour with another band. And I've got Will Carroll from the Bay Area, heavy metal veterans, Death Angels. Say hello, Will.
How y'all doing? It's good to be here. Yeah, I've been in Death Angel for about 11 years, maybe almost 12 years. And yeah, I've been playing in the Bay Area scene for many, many years, since 1989. I was in Vicious Rumors for a while. I did Machine Head's first headlining U.S. tour in '95. And I had my own band, Old Grandad, for over 10 years throughout the '90s and early 2000s. And yeah, I've just been really busy, and I'm in the same situation all other musicians are in right now. You know, no touring, and it's kind of locked up. So
that's awful. It's just awful. And what was the latest thing you guys were working on before all this shit went down? I mean, you were caught up in the shit heavier than anybody I know. And I guess I mean,
we were on a European tour with Testament and Exodus called The Bay Strikes Back, and everything was going great. The tour was totally successful. Everyone was getting along, having fun, and then we had to cancel a show in Milan because of the pandemic, and then people started getting sick a little bit here and there, and yeah, by the end of the tour, we had to cancel the last show in Hanover, Germany, because they shut down the whole city pretty much, and they weren't having big public events at the time. So I still aren't. And on the flight home from the tour, I started feeling really ill, and by the time I got home, my fiance was like, "Wow, you look really sick, and you don't look." I don't normally get sick, so kind of unusual, you know. And I tried to write it for 5 days, and then I ended up going to the hospital and getting put in a coma and all that messy stuff.
Yeah. You made the national headlines, not for a good reason. But like people are knowing Death Angel. Death Angel's was on the news even out here. I think a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad to have you on the show today. I'm glad you recovered. And did they actually try like any kind of special drug to get you out, or don't you really know, or is that something you don't really want to discuss today?
Well, it was a combination of drugs. They were kind of winging it. You know, that they didn't know much about how to cure, and they still don't know obviously how to cure it. But they weren't very well informed like everybody else. You know, so they were just trying experimental procedures on me. And the combination worked, and now they're doing that procedure for lots of other people, and it's working. So
good.
Yeah.
And, cool. So we're going to do something a little fun at the end of the show today. I was talking to you a little bit about. I'm going to ask you I know you're a big Kiss fan.
Oh yeah.
And I wanted to see what your top 5 Kiss albums were. I kind of went through mine today too. But I think my second question for you, I guess it might be our third. You got into drumming. What were your drumming influence? Who did you like? How did you get into heavy metal and hard rock? And who was your main influence, or a couple of your idols that played the drums back in the day? And you were like, man, I want to do this.
I have an older sister and 2 older brothers. So they were into rock music back in the 70s, and they'd always bring records home. So I got turned on to rock music at a very young age. But when I saw Kiss Alive 2, I was 5 years old. Yeah. And when I saw Kiss Alive 2, the gatefold, and then I listened to it, I was sold. I knew that's what I wanted to do with the rest of my life, is play rock and roll, heavy metal, whatever.
Yeah,
And for as far as the drumming influences, when I started drumming, I was around 10, and I was a big Bobby Blotzer fan from Rat.
Oh,
I really loved him, and I still do. I think he's a great drummer. And I was really into Eric Carr. Funny enough, Kiss was my favorite band, and it still is my favorite band. But I was never a Peter Criss fan, really. You know, he's nothing to write home about his drumming. But when they got Eric Carr, I was like, wow, man, his double bass is killer, and
sure.
just a huge step up, you know.
A note about Eric Carr being, I'm from Middletown, New York, and Eric Carr, his funeral was actually in Middletown at St. Joseph's Church.
Okay.
And he was buried somewhere in the Hudson Valley. I can't think of the name. Maybe someone can type in the comments if they're watching the video on that. But his mom and dad kept his memory going for a long time. I don't know if they're still alive now, but back after, he tragically passed, there was an old mall in town that was open, and they actually opened a store and were selling memorabilia, and they had it was almost like a flea market-y kind of thing, and they had one of his drum sets set up, and that was kind of my Middletown note to the story. I figured I'd throw in, rock fantasy.
I didn't even know about that. That's cool. That's really cool.
And I mean, some people know a little bit more. I'm a little hazy on it, but I remember going to the store and talking. It might have been his mom at the time or his dad. And I know they were still doing it, several years ago, but I don't know. They were probably pretty old by now.
I would think so, yeah.
I got to see. Go ahead.
So yeah, I was and then I started going back into deeper stuff. Like I got into John Bonham and Tommy Lee. Like on the first couple of albums, I thought he was a fantastic drummer.
Yeah.
And then I started getting into heavier stuff, and my drum heroes were away from Voivod. Cool. I really liked his style, very unique. Yeah. And I'm a fan of him all around, his artwork and his whole Voivod concept. I thought he was a really good visionary, not just a drummer. And and then like when I started getting into death metal, when I first heard Effigy of the Forgotten by Suffocation, I was blown away by Mike Smith's drumming.
Yeah.
So he's definitely one of my drum heroes. And outside of metal, I'm a big Stuart Copeland fan. I got really into the Police. And then like the mid-90s, I got really into the Police. And I like the drummer for Gary Newman from the 80s, Cedric Sharp. Yeah, so yeah. So and I love David Bowie's drummer from the late 70s, Dennis Davis. He's a killer drummer. So I kind of go all over the place with drums.
Yeah, that's cool. Classic rock, some good stuff. And what a couple of your memorable gigs or tours or something like that? I mean they all blend together, I'm sure, but were there any tour packages that you were just to be on? Or it could be from the beginning of being with Death Angel or any of the other bands things you were with, or festivals that you played for the first time and wow, this is just great to be in front of all these people, or just the vibe.
As far as tours, I'd say the funnest tour I've ever been a part of was Creator Exodus Death Angel. That was maybe in 2011, and that tour was a blast, and it was a tour of Europe.
I was going to say, I don't remember catching that one over here. I would have probably been at that one.
Yeah, it was Europe, and Creator's huge over there.
Oh, and
we're playing really big venues and a lot of sold out gigs, but just the camaraderie backstage and that's back when Exodus, a lot of the guys, or all the guys in Exodus, were still drinking pretty heavily. And me and Mark like to throw down. So there was a lot of partying going backstage, and shows were great. Just the whole vibe was a lot of fun. So that tour has a special spot in my heart. As far as festivals, the first big festival I ever played was Vakken, drumming for Vicious Rumors. And that definitely sticks in my mind. That was the first time I played into a huge crowd. So that's very special. And as far as hometown shows, the most memorable show for me is the first time we played, or the only time I played the Warfield in San Francisco, the Warfield Theater. That's a famous place. There's a Slayer DVD.
I've never been there, but I've never been to San Fran. Actually, I've been to LA and Vegas. That's my West Coast stuff. But I've never been to San Francisco. Yeah.
Okay, well, like there's a Slayer DVD called War at the Warfield. And,
yes.
And
I remember that.
It's been around for a long time, and I've always wanted to play there. I've seen so many shows there. I saw Death Angel there on the Act 3 tour. So yeah, I've always wanted to play there. And Death Angel we finally played there with Anthrax and Testament back in like 2012 or 13 maybe. But yeah. That was a dream come true playing that venue for sure.
What other question did I have for you? I was going to ask you some of I thought the last album that you did, the Humanicide, just a great album.
Yeah, we were happy with it. Yeah.
And were you guys working on another album yet, or is that something that's still off in the future? You're still touring off the Humanicide record, kind of.
Well, yeah, we only did two tours, a U.S. tour and a European tour. So
okay.
We had plans for touring for Humanicide much more, like into the middle of next year. But now with the virus, plans have changed.
Yeah, now we're all locked and we're doing Zoom shows instead. I would be at my store selling records and stuff, and you'd be probably on another tour by now, right?
Oh yeah, you'd definitely be on the road by now. So we weren't really planning on working on a new album until
you were still heavy in the touring cycle for Humanicide, which I caught. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about the connection with Rock Fantasy. You actually, years ago with Death Angel were in my store. I believe they were there about 1990, 91. I tried to dig that info up today, and I got busy actually with something else, and I had some pictures, but they're probably up in the shop. But Death Angel was on tour with Forbidden and did an in-store in my store. And actually, when I see Mark, he still kind of remembers it. And I'm like, nah, you're just saying you remember it. But he remembers my shop. And then you came to my shop with a band named Castle.
Yeah.
You were filling in for drums on them. And that was like a disaster a little bit, because we kind of set up a little hangout and you guys played in Kingston. And I think they blew the sound system or something. And I had you guys over the house, so that was the connection. So how I became friendly with you is through Castle, and then I caught you guys on the tour last year when you played the Chance, which was like a Sunday evening, and right about a year ago it was actually.
Yeah, totally.
I got turned on to that band Mothership, and I thought they were very cool. I dug them. And All Out War, a local hardcore band that's actually national act, was on that bill too. Mike Score is one of my best friends, one of my great customers. And I guess for another question I would have for you would be, what are your interests out of music? I know that what do you collect, or even if it is just musical stuff, do you collect anything?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm a pack rat. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so I collect a lot of Star Wars toys.
Do you?
Yeah.
I found a couple Blue Snaggletooth originals. Do you think they're worth anything?
Wow, hell yeah! I don't even have one of those.
Oh really? Yeah. I'll send you a picture of them. Of course, I've been cleaning the house because I've been in the house since like March 11th, and I'm finally going out a little bit to do things in my store, and we're hoping to getting opened on curbside this week, and so we're just trying to get things back in motion in some way by selling some records and getting them, hopefully people coming out and buying stuff. But I've been going through a lot of stuff, and you can see I'm a pack rat too. If you can see.
I know.
And I mean, you were kind of digging my shop in the old location last time you were there.
Definitely.
So
I collect Star Wars stuff. I used to be a big comic book collector. I don't really do it so much anymore, but I have a huge comic book collection. as far as collecting, that's probably outside of music and metal. That's pretty much all I do. But I collect a lot of records.
I can see you got some nice vinyl. I think you picked up some vinyl for me the day you were there, actually. Yeah, yeah.
Spiritual healing. Buying spiritual healing.
You did. I got a prop with me today. I got the Death Angel Live. And this came out, what, about 2 years ago? No.
I'd say more like maybe 4 years ago.
2015. And
yeah,
I picked that up just to show on the show. And you were into pinball machines when you came by too, I think.
Definitely. I mean, I don't own any pinball machines, but I play them as much as I can. I have on my PlayStation PS4. I have a pinball arcade downloaded on it.
Cool, man.
It's kind of weird, like playing those machines on a TV screen, and then seeing real life and making the adjustment to playing them in real life. It's a trip, but it's cool to practice the games on the PS4, learn all the skill shots and all the tricks and everything. So when I do play them in real life, I have a slight advantage.
You've got a couple cool places to play pinball in San Francisco too, right?
Oh yeah, San Francisco is definitely a pinball town. We have a place called Free Gold Watch.
Yeah,
they have a lot of machines.
The guy that runs that.
What's that?
The guy that runs that is actually friends with me. I actually have a Free Gold Watch T-shirt here that he sent me. Speaking of devil. And it's like in blacklight because Dirty Donnie, I think Dirty Donnie did the art for it.
Oh, right on. Yeah, cool.
And I can't think of the gentleman's name that runs it now for some reason. I told you, I've been in the house too long. Right.
And there's also a pinball museum in Alameda in the East Bay, which is pretty awesome. Each room goes by decade. So that, it starts from the 50s all the way to now. So that's really cool. Yeah.
Cool. So, anything else you want to say or you want to talk about? Or
before we start talking about the Kiss albums, I'd like to plug my radio show.
Please plug away.
I have a radio show called The Fool Metal Jacket, FOOL, The Fool Metal Jacket, and it's on a thing called Gimme Metal. It's a 24-hour heavy metal radio station that's free to download. You can download it on your phone or your tablet or whatever, and it's totally free. My shows are every Monday at 2 p.m. Pacific time, but Dave Mustaine has a show, Randy Blythe has a show, Ross the Boss has a show, so there's a lot of different metal personalities that are on there, and there's always something playing. It's 24 hours, and it's really cool. I love doing it. I've been doing it for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years now, and it's a lot of fun. I love putting the shows together. So, and there's a live chat during the show. People can talk to me, and it's a lot of fun.
You know what? That sounds great. I'm going to have to check it out because I haven't listened to it yet. But I'm a little jealous because I love, as you see, I've made my whole lifestyle around music, and I always fantasize of one day being like DJing and playing some music for people, because I used to DJ in the rock clubs back in the late 80s and 90s when we had the clubs in town. So, going back to pinball, one more question. What's your favorite pinball machine? How's that? I'm gonna put
my favorite
couple.
My favorite machine is Arabian Nights.
I have one at my store. Yeah.
I love that machine, dude. There's just so many missions and objectives, and it's not too hard. You could really rack up the points on it. So I have a lot of fun with that one. That's one of my favorites. Theater of Magic is one of my favorites.
I just saw my Theater of Magic, actually, but I'll probably get another one eventually.
And I love the Star Wars machine that came out in the 90s, the one with the R2-D2 and the Death Star.
Yeah, the Star Wars Daddies. Yeah.
So those are probably my three favorite. Creature from the Black Lagoon is really fun too.
I thought you were gonna say Kiss.
Well, I love the 70s Kiss machine just for the whole nostalgia of it. And the one that came out a few years ago is pretty cool too.
It is.
If I were to buy a machine, I'd buy the 70s one. Definitely.
Yeah. The 70s ones are the classic. All right, so I guess we're going to do a top five. I'm going to do a top five along with you, and
All right.
I guess since you're my guest, I will go first. Coming in at number five for me was tough because I had Creatures of the Night as number five. Maybe like it was, you know, it was more like it was Kiss, but they were kind of moving into more a real metal direction with
Totally.
that album, right?
Totally.
With the War Machine, and I remember like Taz coming out in ECW because I'm a wrestling guy too back in the day, and you know Creatures of the Night. So I guess I'll pull a mulligan. I got a little of a tie between that and Love Gun.
Okay.
So
That's number five.
that was my number fives. The two number fives.
My number five, I'm starting from the top here. So number five would be Love Gun as well.
Oh, we tied. Woohoo.
Yeah.
Number four, I'm gonna do the self-titled album, the first
Number
album.
four. Number four for me is Dress to Kill.
Wow, number four for Dress for Kill to you. I'm on to number three now. The number three for me would be Hotter Than Hell.
Cool. Number three for me would be Creatures of the Night.
And if you want to add anything about each one, you could. You know, we do a show like this every week. I'm kind of copying off my friend Pete. He might get mad at me. It's like when they do like top tens. I figured with my show, I'll try to ask a couple questions and then do something fun at the end. You know.
Sure.
And my number, I'm going to cheat a little bit with this, and I'm going to put a live album in. I got Kiss Alive at number two.
Okay, I don't normally include the live albums because if I did, that would be number one, and two would be Kiss Alive and Kiss Alive 2. I mean, those albums are amazing. But for studio albums, number two would be Rock and Roll Over.
Shit, I almost kind of forgot about that. I kind of winged this together this morning because I wasn't sure if I was going to list one too or not. I'm working on a Slayer list for another show this week too. And,
Right.
My favorite album by them and what I grew up with listening to is Destroyer.
Okay.
You know, Destroyer, that's my number one. I mean, Kiss Alive could be number one. That could be pretty much a tie. And, you know, Rock and Roll Over and Best to Kill, they're all great albums. I even like some of the cheesy hair metal albums that they did, you know.
Hey, number one for me is Lick It Up.
It is.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's their heaviest album, and it's like a continuation of Creatures of the Night. They're almost exact. They're very similar albums, and I just love the lyrical content on that album. It's very aggressive and kind of mean-natured, and this Eric's drumming is awesome on it, and that's why I became an uber Kiss fan. Was during Lick It Up era. Like I was already into Kiss, but that's when I just devoted my life to Kiss was during Lick It Up. That's my favorite album. I just got this tattoo on the last tour.
Nice.
Yeah.
I totally marked out on the last tour. I actually did the meet and greet back in. I went to Allentown, Pennsylvania. Right, was like beginning of February, I guess, and I did the. I like the hell. I need a picture with me and Gene and Paul for the store, and I went out and I marked out, and now I'm so glad I did, because who knows when I'm getting to go to a show again.
Exactly. It's kind of funny. Kiss played Oakland right before the shutdown, right before the shelter in place happened. So that was the last show everybody saw here in the Bay Area was Kiss, which is kind of cool, you know.
I'll tell you a strange thing about me that I go to a ton of metal shows. I mean, you play a ton of metal shows, but I go to a ton. And I would have seen so many this spring because usually the touring cycles like spring and fall in New York City because I'm about an hour out. But the last show I saw was at the weirdest place to do a metal show. I saw Opeth with Graveyard at the Apollo Theater.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that was like, and I'm like thinking, like, is that the last metal show I'm ever gonna see? Is it to the end of the world or whatever we're in now? It's like that's the weirdest place. I could have said, well, I was, you know, I usually say I was at the Gramercy or I was at Vitus or I was, you know, somewhere like that.
How often do they rock shows at the Apollo Theater. Not very often.
Like hardly ever. I think Metallica did something there with like
Yeah.
Jose or something, and I don't know, maybe someone's gonna say somebody else played there, but it was definitely weird, for me.
Nice place though, huh?
It was very nice, and I'm 59 years old, and I grew up in the '60s, and I was kind of a Motown kid when I grew up, and I was just thinking, like, it's really cool leaning on the stage to see Opeth here, because I was actually leaning right on it. The security was like 0 to nothing in there, and I don't think they weren't sure what they were getting into. Not that Opeth was like Death Angel or a death metal band like Cannibal Corpse, but
Right.
I just, when I was leaning on that stage, I was thinking about, like, Opeth's pretty heavy, but I don't know, is it as heavy? Like, how heavy would it have been to see James Brown there with that whole show? Like,
Totally.
it was so, that was aggressive too back then. So
Did Michael Ackerfeld acknowledge the theater? Did he talk about it?
Yeah, I think he did, and I believe that he handpicked playing there because they played like Radio City in New York. They played. I saw them at some other place that was kind of like for classical music or something once. I forget the name of it now. Hey, that thing was shirt you guys did, and when I bought it the chance, I never knew it was going to be blacklight responsive for our interview coming up in a year.
It looks cool.
That's a cool shirt. So, well, thanks for coming on with me today. Maybe you can come on again and we'll talk about something else. I'm working on getting the guys from Crisian on in a week or so, and working on Matt Byrne from Hatebreed wants to come on because he's local to me. And I think you got me kicked off in the right direction.
Cool.
And,
what's the Voivod thing you were telling me about earlier? It was a Voivod, because they're one of my favorite bands.
We're going to do a top 10 Voivod a week from Saturday on the Sea of Tranquility, which is, you can look that up on YouTube, and that's my friend Peter Pardo, and we've been getting together with Slagle, and we had Reed St. Mark on last week because we did a Celtic Frost one.
Wow.
But so then I kind of got the idea of doing this, and we have Elliot from Little Punk People on, so we got quite the extravaganza. But I'm sure you're more than welcome to hop in, and I'll hit you up and let you know the details.
That'd be great because I love talking Voivod, and
Voivod,
I love all eras of Voivod. They're more rock, everything. I like everything they've done. So that'd be cool. St. Mark is one of my drum inspirations too. When I was younger, I loved his drumming on Into the Pandemonium, especially. So I like him, but he's definitely one of my drum heroes as well, for sure.
I'll send you the link to the show if you want to check it out. And you can find me at rockfantasy.com, and we have the Rock Fantasy YouTube. So if you like this one, subscribe. We're going to try to do some more, and maybe I can get some more rock stars like Will to come and talk to me.
It was my pleasure.
And Will, how can we? And I'm rockfantasy.com, and you can find me at Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. And Will, how do they find you if you want them to find you?
Well, I mean, the best way to find me is just to listen to my radio show and talk to me in the chat, and I'll get to know you through the chat. So it's gimmemetal.com, and my show's on every Monday at 2, the Full Metal Jacket. So that's the best way. Or just come to a Death Angel show. I'm always hanging out at the merch table if we ever tour again.
I think we'll get there eventually, right? I don't know. Things are starting to get a little better, but I'm sure. I mean, the bad severity of what can happen.
Oh yeah.
And I've had a couple friends in the same boat where you were, not as long as you were, but almost on a ventilator and stuff. And I said, okay, that's good enough for me to stay home right now, But as we're starting to open up, now it's a little scary. But I mean, and we have to open up some things. But I've got my employees working for me, and I'm taking care of my wife because she's got some health issues. But I'm going to try to run it that way for a little while until see what goes on. Well, thanks for joining me today, and I'm gonna stop the recording in a second, and Thanks for watching Rock Fantasy Files, episode 1. We're making history in Middletown, New York.